Hello, welcome to another Black History Moment, reading from Black Saga. 1690, Population Overview. General population in North American British colonies. According to estimates of the Bureau of the Census, about 210,372 persons lived in the American colonies at this time. The largest colonies were Virginia, 53,346, and Massachusetts, 49,504. Medium-sized colonies between 10,000 and 25,000 residents included Maryland, Connecticut, New York, and Pennsylvania. Over the previous decade, the American colonies experienced a population growth rate of about 39%, although the large colonies continued to have the largest absolute population increases. Their rates of growth were rather slow, ranging from 21% for Virginia to 25% for Massachusetts and 34% for Maryland. The highest growth rates occurred in the smaller colonies, an indication of population dispersal. In some of the smaller colonies, such as New Hampshire, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Southern Carolina, the population had more than doubled over the previous decade. Blacks in North American British colonies. Blacks in the colonies numbered about 16,729, or about 8% of all colonial residents, up from 6,971 a decade earlier, and an increase of more than 140%. In contrast to the widespread dispersion of the general population among the colonies, the black population was rapidly concentrating in the South. For example, Virginia's share of all blacks in the colonies increased from 43% in 1680 to 56% in 1690. The number of blacks in the colony increased from 3,000 to 9,345 over the same period, a 211% increase. Southern Carolina's black population soared from 200 in 1680 to about 1,500 in 1690, a 650% increase. Southern colonies increased their share of the black population over the previous decade from 73% to 80%. Economic Conditions Overview. Parliament revokes Royal African Company's monopoly. The demand for slaves in the British colonies was so great in the 1690s that the Royal African Company was unable to satisfy the demand. Parliament responded to the colony's demands and revoked the company's monopoly on the African coast in 1698. This action opened the slave trade to independent merchants and traders. Fueled by the potential profits from slavery, the number of slave trading enterprises grew because many slavers directed their efforts toward securing slaves from Africa. The annual flow of white servants to many colonies soon dropped sharply, and by 1710 the flow had decreased to a negligible level. Social Conditions Overview. Slave codes enacted in New England. Slave codes, some specific and some general, came into force in the New England colonies. For example, in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, slaves needed written permission to leave their owner's property. slaves and free white persons were treated similarly in cases involving the death penalty. And in Massachusetts and Connecticut, slaves and whites were governed by the same courts and procedures. Massachusetts recognized the right of slaves to own property and to sue their masters if it was taken away. No colony in New England denied the right of owners to manumit free their slaves, although many imposed some restrictions on manumission. In all colonies, slaves who struck a white person were severely penalized. The sale of alcoholic beverages to slaves was prohibited, as was trading with slaves and harboring runaways. Thank you for listening to this Black History Moment.